Are epidemiological studies showing a correlation between meat eating, particularly red meat, and the onset of chronic diseases a reason to go plant-based? Hey, this is Josh from Vitality Maximized. You can find us on YouTube, Odyssey, Telegram, Facebook, and Instagram for insightful content to help you navigate and maximize your health and wellness journey. Recently, there's been a study posted by the Harvard School of Public Health that claimed that red meat consumption is associated with increased type 2 diabetes. Harvard School of Public Health thankfully had the decency to put out a press release, link in the comments or in the show notes. There are a couple of issues with this study, and I'll start to unpack a little bit of it, which is primarily the reason for this video. The study itself, the data that was collected came from the NHS, the Nurses Health Study, and a few other databases. And this was done, and these databases were collected like in the 80s and 90s. So this is indicative that Harvard did not perform a brand new study, did not collect any new data. The accumulation of the data collected had nearly 217,000 participants, and red meat intakes were assessed by semi-quantitative food frequency questionnaires. Yes, food frequency questionnaires. Food frequency questionnaires are notoriously known to be shady and unreliable, and they have a high likelihood of people forgetting what they ate. They underestimate how much they ate. Some may not even know or have any idea what is a cup or what is an ounce, or in grams or pounds that they ate. And there's also a likelihood for them to fudge their answers, so that because of outside you could say outside pressure, so they don't feel they don't feel shamed in any way. So what's even worse is that in this study, and they said it on their press release, that food frequency questionnaires are filled out every 2 to 4 years. That's right, 2 to 4 years. Do you even recall what you actually ate 2 years ago with precision? If you do, kudos to you, but there's a high likelihood that most people do not. But yeah, if you do, just hit them in the comments below if you do or not. But I digress. This is not to say that food frequency questionnaires are entirely useless. Like a good way to use food frequency questionnaires is that if they are done at the end of every day for a period of time, because what you ate for that day will be fresh in your mind, and thus the quality of data will be much more accurate. Gosh, why did I exaggerate the much? But no, the data Harvard collected from the Nurses Health Study and other databases, collected food frequency questionnaires every 2 to 4 years. And yeah, this is nutritional epidemiological research at such high standards, and really the shining beacon of light of research integrity. Yeah, I hope sarcasm is understood. But yeah, once they got down to the analysis, um, typically if you're looking for a strong association between two variables, there's something called the hazard ratio, which is the strength at which A causes B. In this case, right, the hazard ratio between red meat and type 2 diabetes is 1.4. Let me say that again. The hazard ratio of red meat consumption with and type 2 diabetes with a poorly designed food frequency questionnaire is 1.4. And that hazard ratio is the difference between the lowest quintile of meat eaters and the highest quintile. Statistical significance, you decide. So yeah, and another problem that I had with this study that Harvard performed is that since the study was done over a long period of time, like almost 30-40 years, why didn't they consider, every 3 months, every 4 months, they collect, quantitative data, whether it's blood or it's urine, right, or just those two. Why aren't they collected over a period of time when this study was collected? Why didn't they? Because you would expect that if you're going to collect data of those, who are eating red meat, it should at least corroborate the the markers of type 2 diabetes, whether it is HbA1c or fasting insulin, right, or fasting blood glucose, etc. So they didn't do that. None of that was done. So it makes it makes it more difficult to actually pinpoint a causation. But oh well, that's Harvard for you. And this I'll make this one really short. There are also a lot of other blatant errors in the study that is too much to list for this short video. You could ask, was there any consideration for healthy user bias, socioeconomic bias, the jobs they worked, where they lived, the bias of the author, Walter Willett, and his dietary leanings, and the blatant conflicts of interests. So if you want to dive deep into the problems of this study, I can leave a link to Nina Tescolt's, forgive me for butchering her name, but there's a Substack article that she wrote. There's also Dr. Ken Berry and his YouTube video over this very study, and there's also a Zoe Harcum's article on this study as well, pointing out gives you a greater detail of all the issues and problems with that study itself. So yeah, dear plant-based dieters, are you going to hinge on research like that and many others of this nature to convince yourself to go plant-based or to continue being plant-based? That is up to you to decide. Thank you for your time, and signing off.